Cinema has always been a mirror reflecting the hopes, struggles, and victories of the human spirit. But when it comes to LGBTQ rights, films have been more than just a reflection, rather, it becomes a form of resistance. Over the years, LGBTQ stories have moved from the shadows of the subtext into the spotlight of histories, documenting personal and collective struggle. This video essay tries to add a detailed and unbiased perspective into the portrayal of these struggles in films like Milk, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, The Imitation Game, and Paris is Burning, illustrating the differentiating aspects of the fight for LGBTQ rights set against the background of the real world movement that inspired them.
My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you. I want to recruit you.
Starting from the 1970s, a pivotal decade for the LGBTQ rights in the United States, Gus Van Sant's directorial Milk, starring St. Paul, tells the story of Harvey Milk, the first openly gay elected official in California. Milk's story is significantly not only for his personal achievement, but also for the social change he helped inspire. At the time, LGBTQ individuals faced severe discrimination. Police raids on gay bars were common, as were firing based on sexual orientation. But Harvey Milk's election to the San Francisco's Board of Supervisors in 1977 symbolized a shift in public perception. Through his campaign, he galvanized the LGBTQ communities, fighting against the anti-gay legislation like Proposition 6, which sought to ban gay teachers from public schools. Milk's assassination in 1978 alongside San Francisco's Mayor George Moscone was a tragedy, but his legacy lives on. The film captures his fight for LGBTQ visibility and rights at the same time when the community was demanding to be heard, reminding us that the progress is not linear. And while despite Milk's heroic achievements, the LGBTQ community continues to face setbacks, but his courage sparked a movement that still to this day is growing.
Ça raconte l'histoire d'un orage qui monte. Et des insectes qui le sentent. Et s'agite. Et la tempête qui éclate.
Moving back in history from the lavish 20th century into the neoclassical age of the 18th century, Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire portrays a deeply personal and often hidden experiences of same-sex love in a time when it was completely invisible. The film's central love story between Heloise and Mariana is not just about two women falling in love, it's about the broader concept of forbidden love and the pressure of societal expectations. At this time in history, same-sex relationships were considered taboo, if not outright criminal. There was no space for LGBTQ people to openly exist. For many, same-sex desires had to remain hidden, an illicit part of one's life that was suppressed for fear of social or legal consequences. This theme is at heart of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Their love, while profound and transformative, must exist in the shadows like the lives of so many LGBTQ peoples throughout history. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is a haunting reminder that the struggles of LGBTQ rights is not just about legal reforms, but is also about the right to exist openly and love freely, something that many throughout history have been denied.
School.
Jumping forward to the 1980s, we find ourselves in the world of Paris is Burning, a documentary that explores the underground ballroom culture of New York City. This was a world built by the LGBTQ people of color, many of whom were disenfranchised and marginalized, not just because of their sexuality or gender identity, but also because of their race and socio-economic status. During the same period, the AIDS crisis was devastating the LGBTQ community, and the government's slow response to this epidemic reflected the deep-seated homophobia of that time. Paris is Burning shows how the ballroom scene became a refuge, a place where people who were rejected by mainstream society could find family, express themselves, and survive in a hostile world. While the ballroom scene was a celebration of identity, it was also a form of resistance. In a time when LGBTQ people were dying from neglect, poverty, and disease, Paris is Burning shows the beauty of a community that refused to be erased. Mortar Tillem's Imitation Game tells the story of Al Turing, a brilliant mathematician who helped crack the Nazi Enigma code during the World War II. His contribution to the war efforts arguably saved millions of lives, but Turing himself faced persecution after the war not for his achievement but for his homosexuality. In 1952, Turing was arrested and convicted for gross indecency. Under the British law that criminalized homosexuality, he was chemically castrated and died 2 years later in what many believe was suicide. Despite his monumental contribution, Turing himself became a victim of the same laws and prejudices that the LGBTQ people have been fighting for decades. The tragedy of Alan Turing's life highlights the cruel paradox that so many LGBTQ individuals have faced, that being celebrated for their achievement yet condemned for their identities. The Imitation Game is a stark reminder of how far we have come and how far we still have to go. These films, each in their own way, capture the vast and diverse experiences of LGBTQ individuals across different times and places. From political activism to personal love stories, from historical injustices to cultural celebration, cinema has played an essential role in documenting the struggle for LGBTQ rights. But as we have seen, the fight is far from over. The progress we have made stands on the shoulder of countless people, those who have came before us and those who resisted and those who told their stories. In honoring them, we continue the work towards a world where everyone, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, can live freely and openly.